telepathy and all, like just really going into the brain. But then here's the I get that. I can't really pinpoint anybody myself, but I know that I've been more influenced sometimes by a person's mystique. Interact with things kind of stay the same. We're not that much different. Welcome everybody to yet another episode of Bridging the Gap with Bill, Shy, Scooby, and Mac. In this episode, we are going to discuss immortality and living forever and discussing all various aspects of that. But of course, we're going to make our rounds.
Make sure y'all get tuned in and tapped into all the social medias. I'm at Scooby Kid 252, at Chef Mac 1523, at OSOShy11, at Bill_Perry, and at Bridge the Gap 77. Get tuned in and tapped in, man.
Man, we got to trademark that because he invented that saying.
Get tuned in and tapped in.
I just want to go ahead and wish everybody a happy Halloween. I hope everybody had a safe and wonderful Halloween. And how are we all doing this week?
Oh, well, Shy, ladies first.
Oh, thank you. This week is a lot better. Doing great this week. I had a wonderful weekend, so.
I saw you dressed up as a nurse.
Yeah.
I bet y'all the guys was like, oh, come here, help me, nurse. I saw Joe's little response. I'm like, Joe,
he
man.
said something about testing his blood pressure.
Yeah, I'm like, man, stop being a horny told my girl and my sister, man. Come on, what you doing? Nah, we already know Joe like you and stuff.
Yeah, it was a nice weekend though. Yeah.
But yeah, myself, I'm doing great. I had a very productive weekend. Worked all weekend, but I also was involved in a thing called Feed the Second Line, which was a charity that I did with some other friends of mine: Anna Donnell, Tiffany Gamble, Alex, and Sarah Rose Mooney. Someone else, I forget the name, but anyway. So we raised money and stuff this weekend for a good cause, and there was actually like a hurricane or something like this in New Orleans this past weekend because they were doing it literally in real time. But yeah, so that was a cool thing, and I work at the drive-in. We showed Halloween 1 and Army of Darkness. I don't know if y'all hip to that. That's a little old school. But anyway, that's me.
I checked out the, I admit I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched your part. You were dressed as Von Talis.
The
playing piano.
Oh yeah. Oh right. Yeah, I dressed up as one of my characters and everything from the movie, and my boy caught it. That's cool. Yeah, no doubt. And so that was Anna Donnell. She was the one that hosted it, the one that sung along with that.
Okay. Yeah, it was that was cool. So the witching hour.
The witching hour. That's right. Cool, the witching hour. Which, by the way, you can still make donations. It's still available online. They still have the link up there, so go check it out.
Yeah. My week's been pretty good. I just had like a 5-hour conversation with Raquel today about like seeds versus water. You know what I'm saying? And just like the difference between if you're planting a seed or if you're watering a seed that somebody's already like
planted. Yeah,
and it's not really knowing the difference between those two, but like the great people that we know that spoke like Tupac, Martin Luther King, they knew when they were planting a seed and watering it, and just the dynamic of that as artists. It was a really good conversation. That's probably the highlight of my week.
That's a cool combo.
Yeah.
My week's been about the same as it normally is. Work. I've enjoyed my days off. I've been writing a lot of stuff that hopefully will start to come to fruition relatively soon.
So what's this, man? I'm digging the colors here.
Yeah, it's Greenville, North Carolina, ECU. East Carolina Pirates, is where me and him grew up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, it's no. Okay.
That's where our grandma lived.
But apparently, yellow and purple, that's the colors. I can dig that, the purple and gold, because that's Laker colors. So yes, I'm feeling that all day. Yeah. But anyway, this is Mac's moment. He's talking about this stuff.
Side note about ECU though. I didn't mean to cut you off again, but
we cut back off. We cut back off.
I was about to get into it, so say what you gotta say.
Greatest Halloween parties of all time in Greenville, North Carolina. Like literally Project X style. Cops came, bashed the cops' windows, buses got tipped over, climbing the flagpoles and light poles. It was fucking.
We're not advocating violence, people.
But it was wild. Like,
but it's wild party.
High school is intense.
Indeed.
In North Carolina.
And I do want to say before, I know it's way too late. I shouldn't even say it, but vote. Because when this comes out, we may or may not have a new president. I don't know. I can't see into the future, so.
Yes, so we are speaking you from that time, and hopefully, well, I ain't going to speak on things because I don't want to get political. But yeah, we may have a new president, we may not. We'll see.
Speaking of the immortality, though, maybe we can start there and just how, not only people, but ideas are immortal. And just like, things that happened in history, would we consider that being immortal, like a time period?
The moment you utter a thought, it is definitely eternal. But I was kind of like, when I came up with the idea, I was speaking more to the idea of the concept of immortality. People, you know, finding the, what is it, the Holy Grail or whatever have you, and, you know, and being able to have eternal life. Who is that? Is it Ponce de Leon or who's?
Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, the Fountain of Youth. Yeah, Ponce de Leon. And so, what is that story? Like, what happens? I don't think I know the story. I know that he goes to search for it, and he does find it, but right?
Yeah, he finds it, but I mean, he died. Obviously, he finds it. Like, so, basically, the Fountain of Youth. The thing that Ponce de Leon found is in Florida.
Yeah, it's Florida, right? I did know that.
You can go to it.
Yeah, we're going to Florida.
You can go to it, but
because I remember that a part, because there's another name associated with that Fountain of Youth thing too, but not as popular as his story. But yeah, something tragic came of it. It was like, the irony that here he goes to seek eternal life and he dies. It's just like, how ironic. But I guess the question being, like, if one is bestowed eternal life, what does one gain? If you could live forever, what do you gain? Do you ever actually grow up? Because you could be a kid forever and it doesn't matter. Because it's like, why mature if I'm going to live forever? Why mature?
But it's like, okay.
Well, I was just going to say, I read, I think it was V.C. Andrews' vampire book, the one that Tom Cruise was in.
Oh, the interview with the vampire.
Yeah, one of their rules was to never make a child a vampire.
Oh, they made that girl, right?
Yeah, because they do grow up. She's living her life. She sees what's happening, and she's not a kid anymore.
She fell in love with Tom. She was like a grown woman in love with him.
Hated him.
But I thought she was like, because
she ended up hating him because he turned her like that. She could never grow up. She was going to be a child forever.
I thought, like, wasn't there something that she was trying to have a relationship with one of them, but they looked at her as a little girl?
Maybe Brad Pitt.
Maybe Brad Pitt's character. Okay. Because I remember that. It's like, imagine that. You're like, 100 years old, but you got the body of a 5-year-old or 8-year-old, whatever she was.
But the mind of...
And see, again, like I say, okay, so in her case, she had a little girl's body. And we like to assume that, having eternal youth would be the thing, right? But it's just like, well, maybe to correct it a little bit, maybe you want to say perhaps your most virile time. Like, if I was perpetually 25 years old, but I was getting older in my mind, I can dig it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can dig that. If I was 100 years old but still looked like I was 25.
Even right now, it's like if time stopped and age stopped right now, I guess for
I would be content looking like this for eternity.
Yeah.
Damn,
if I
that'd be
knew
great.
I had
But so
to age going throughout, that. And another thing, you lose everyone. Everyone you've ever loved. It's like you can't love anyone because everybody is going to die.
Everybody will die.
I've seen Peter Pan, right?
Yeah, well, actually, in part. I actually don't know.
Parts,
yeah.
So, like, the thing about Peter Pan that always got me is it was like, I want to say that it was like during the bombing in Britain, right? The raids that would happen, the Blitz, right?
Okay.
And so, like, they saw no future, so they wanted to grow old as kids. That's why they would go to Neverland and never grow up. And, that's kind of always been, like, the thing with immortality to me is, like, do you get to experience everything? Because theoretically, if you work out, if you're 25 and you work out, you're gonna get bigger.
Right.
But like, your brain is a muscle, so it wouldn't grow either. Like, is there a point that it would reset if you were immortal?
Well, the thing is, right? We do know that things change around us, but the human condition, the way we kind of interact with things, kind of stay the same. We're not that much different from our ancestors, the way we react to things.
True.
But technology changes around us. So, like for, just speaking from from my time, as it were, as a, my realistic time frame, I have seen trends change about 3 to 4 different times in my life. And I've adapted it so.
Yeah.
We've come from Jive Turkey to Word to On Fleek to On God. And it's going to keep changing, and I just adapt to the language. But human behavior, the way I'm interacting with y'all ain't no different than the way I interacted with someone in the 80s or 90s. We talk, we interact, and things of this nature. I think you do grow. Yeah. I think you do get smarter because things, not just only colloquialisms and sayings and technological advances, but you just grow to, be able to read people.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you've been reading people for 200 years.
Good.
Mannerisms.
All the experiences.
Every
you've
little, all it takes for a motherfucker to do is walk in the room and you know everything about them. People can do that now.
So
There's people that can do that now, and you know, I mean.
I'm gonna plug a TV show. We're not sponsored by these people at all, but I recommend you download this app on your phone. It's called CWC, and it's got a bunch of different they're all like canceled shows. And go find this show called Forever, which I've shown you a little bit of, and it's about this dude who's lived for 200 years and where a lot of Riley's inspiration comes from. And he lived for 200 years, and like you said, he can read people like a book. Like you walk into the room, it was like, oh, so when'd your wife die?
Right.
How'd you know that? You know?
Just say, hey man, I've seen this energy before. You know, I have felt this energy. And the better you become at that, like right now in all of our lives, we all have felt that energy when you walk in the room and the energy some kind of way. You can feel it. Now imagine if you've done that, you know, for 100, 200 years. It's just like, man, I mean, but see, then here's the kicker, right? Would it make life mundane? Because at every state, if you've mastered all human condition, you can read people, you pretty much know things about math and history and all these kinds of things, that there's not much that you can be duped on. What is there to gain in the human experience after that?
Well, from the things I've read, yeah, not only does it become mundane, but the people, oh gosh, they don't know what to do with themselves. Say, for instance, a vampire, he would probably bury himself again underground for about 100 years and come up, see what's going on now. It's like, what can I experience now?
Actually, yeah, that's what they do. They hibernate for a while.
I'm not sure.
Like, you know, well, if they're in trouble.
Earth.
Yeah, they just walk the earth, yeah.
And another one, the queen of the, the Queen of the Damned, that same book.
The very first vampire.
Yeah, they just sat and became stone.
Yeah.
So they just didn't do, but she traveled in her mind. Her mind became so great. She wasn't dead or anything in her mind, you know, it became so great that she could just go and pretty much
Now, Shy,
seek
you
out
just
anybody.
touched. No, go ahead. No, finish
go
your
ahead,
thought.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, no, you just touched on something that is what would make life exciting. I think if you really wanted to, you know, really get out of living eternally, is to master the brain, like to the point where you could, you know, astral project yourself to other worlds without actually physically being there, but you could be sitting amongst other aliens like a damn hologram or some shit, because you can astral project. That shit Luke Skywalker did. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Where he had that battle with Kylo Ren. Oh, spoiler alert, sorry about that for those who hadn't seen it. I'm not sure which one it was. I think it was the one everybody shits on, The Last Jedi. But like, he has this whole battle with him, but the motherfucker, he was just meditating the whole time somewhere else. Like, you know what I'm saying? Imagine doing that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and just all, you know, moving objects with your mind, speaking without speaking, you know, telepathy and all, like just really going into the brain. But then here's the kicker. After you've done all that, then what? You know what I'm saying? Because that will finally come to a place where you're like, okay, I'm like, pretty much, you know, not to speak blasphemous, but I'm like God now, essentially. Like, I know
I
it
think
all.
something like that could be kind of endless in a way, because you know, I don't know where the brain will take you.
Like, what is the end of thought, as it were, right?
Yeah, you know, I mean, because look where Albert Einstein's mind took him. You know?
And he would still be thinking if he was alive.
Yeah.
He would still be.
He would be
coming.
in space
Matter of
somewhere,
fact, you know that messy
zoned
desk
out.
that he left out. Like, you know, his desk is really famous. I think they preserved it exactly the way it was, and it was just all, you know, awry. But, you know, he was a freaking genius, fucking Einstein. But he left this particular equation that he was working on when he, you know, when he died. He was still working.
Did somebody solve it?
As a matter of fact, I think so. Some guy from India.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Finally solved it like way down the line, because I can't remember. I think he died in the 50s or something. And this guy like solved it in like the 90s.
Wow.
So it was decades later. And so it was just something he was puzzling on. If I'm incorrect, correct me in the comments. But if I'm not mistaken, yes, that was. But the idea that, you know, greatest mind on the planet is still like, but man, just like when Hawking left us not too long ago. Yeah. You know, Hawking, you know, he was actually saying some stuff that was kind of scary. He was you know, we may get hit by an asteroid. We may not want to communicate with aliens because they may come here and do some shit. Like, you know, he was like, I ain't gonna sugarcoat this anymore, y'all. I done learned some shit about the universe, and we may need to stop fucking around. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we keep on wanting to knock on the door. Come on, aliens, come on down. We've been looking for y'all. Yeah, the motherfucker motherfuckers look like some chicken McNuggets down there. To serve man.
That was one of the things I saw. Oh, some special just the other day, and they were saying instead of being so quick to travel in space, because say for instance you go 60,000 light years away, or so, I can't remember exactly, but you would travel so many light years away. The 60 for you, it would be 60 years. Before people on Earth, it would be 60,000 years. So it's like, I mean, come on already.
You're not even coming back to the reality that you left.
Yeah.
You become an anachronism. You come back and it's just like, I mean, there's no way to fit in at all. Like, that's so far removed.
The space, instead of exploring space, explore our minds and get deeper into our minds, into technology, and seeing how far that can take us. Because how we grew up, we were fascinated just by 3D video games.
Right.
And now they have things where you can, those virtual realities. So how is that gonna,
where we could take ourselves with our imagination as far as the things that are going on now. I couldn't have even imagined it. Like I couldn't have imagined this, when we were kids and stuff like that. And even into my teens, like I didn't think that there would be a device this encompassing. I saw a picture that I posted up where this guy had all these different things. It was like a radio or this and a that. It was like, you saw that? Yeah. It's like all this is in your pocket right now, and it's just like, and I grew up with every single gadget that he was holding. I'm like, yeah, I had that too, I had that. And here it is. So, and this is still in its infancy.
And imagine being immortal and you're going through all of this, and it's like eventually once you're done and tried everything, like how you said, then what?
But see, here's the kicker, right? Living forever doesn't constitute having like a great mind. Like, what if you live forever, but you're just like a fuck it type of guy? It's like, I want to live forever, but I just want to fucking get stoned for fucking thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? And you don't grow, but you're, the greatest weed on the planet, you're fucking grabbing it and smoking everything on this planet.
There would be people that will waste it.
And they would, I think the majority of people would. You know what I'm saying? I think it would be personal, frivolous shit. It wouldn't be nothing to gain knowledge to give back to mankind. Like, live for 1,000 years and give the world what you've learned. But like, I live for 1,000 years. I think that would be the average person. They wouldn't give a fuck about giving back.
Have you ever seen the movie In Time with Justin Timberlake?
Mm-mm.
So it's essentially like you live into your 21, right? And as soon as you're 21, you get a year to live. And if you don't go to work, they clock you and it's on your arm. You got to go in and clock in and they give you time, right?
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. And so the rich got eons. And they just live forever. And it's kind of like
no. Basically, time is money.
And they can purchase as much time as they want. Well, shit, I'm gonna purchase another more 80 years.
Yep.
Wow.
And so they
imagine that as a commodity. That'd be the greatest. That'd make Bezos look like a fucking chump. You know what I'm saying? You could actually market time.
Alone of the fact that we obviously can't live forever. I mean,
was this a corporate thing in the movie?
Yeah, there was like a whole corporation, and like you have to go like to get into.
I gotta see this one. What's it called again?
In Time.
In Time. Justin Timberlake. I gotta see that.
Bro,
that sounds awesome.
It'll make you just question a lot of shit.
So okay, obviously in a movie like this, I guess not for the sake of going into the movie much, but I'm kind of curious of the storyline. Is like, can people steal time from each other?
Fuck yeah. They gamble it too. It's like because you got your sleeve covered and you be like, let's go, and then we just put our arms together and whoever die first, people just dying on the street, taking their time.
When I say time is money, that's their bartering system. Like it's like
that's the new money.
I'll give you 50 years for the TV.
Oh my God.
The rich folks got bodyguards with them at all times.
Yeah, because they hold years up under them.
The only way you can die is from an accident. You get shot or
something that just can't be
happens.
predicted. Yeah, you get poisoned, whatever have you. But your mechanics will allow you to live at the time that you have bought.
Yep.
So I would imagine then the ransom factor would get amped up. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is like, hell, you got all these years. I'll kidnap you, and you say if you got 100 years, motherfucker, you need to give me 80 of them, if not all of them, whatever how your ransom is, and then that person gives up them years, then they only have seconds left, I guess.
Seconds, and you just die.
Ooh. So in that case, actually, I would risk it. It's like, well, if you're gonna kill me if I give you your years, or rather, I'm gonna kill myself rather, or you'll kill me if I don't give it to you.
I'm not
Motherfucker, I ain't
giving
giving it to you. Just shoot me then. Because as soon as you take these years from me, I'm gonna fucking croak.
Yeah.
So, you know. But see, now we've taken it to a curious place. Y'all just took it to a place I didn't imagine. You know, bartering time. You know, now say in the case of, you know, let's take it with this movie motif, right? And keep it with this forever thing. You're that one person that can live forever, which means you have, like you say, eons to sell. Now, if you had this capability, would you profit from it? Or would you like create some sort of cult where special people will get years thrown at them? Or you just say, fuck it, I'm just gonna hoard it for me.
Nah, it wouldn't be like I'm gonna hoard it for me. It's like
or be safe about it, as it were.
If I'm immortal and like let's just throw me in, I'm 200 years immortal. I've lost everybody I've ever cared about.
Right.
And they're like, oh, can I have some? No, I don't. I wouldn't want to put that person
That kind
into
of
that
anguish.
situation.
Now, see, that's a responsible way. That'd be a responsible thing. Now, that's looking out for others. But see, now, what if you got the mind of Jeff Bezos?
Yeah.
I love saying his name like that, Jeff Bezos.
I mean, you selling it every day.
Because, I mean, Jeff Bezos
would,
he'd be a trillionaire if he could, you know, anybody, I think, I mean, I'm picking on Jeff, but I mean, any businessman, if they could barter time, that is the greatest commodity. I don't think there's anything greater than that. Everybody would barter time. You would purchase time.
I don't
You know, well, maybe, I don't know. Because like you say, if you really get to thinking about it, it's like, okay, you're at the table and you're happy and you realize, oh, I could buy 100 more years. But it's like, say in this case, it's like, well, all y'all would be dead. Like I won't be, like all y'all are guaranteed to die before me. I have to live with the idea that I know that everyone that is currently around me, I'm gonna live to see them die. And then I'm still gonna have an extended life after that.
Another thing I wonder, okay, if you're immortal, can you still get hurt? You know, can you know...
Depending on who we are talking about. If it's Dracula, I mean,
the way that I've always...
He could get hurt by the sun. I mean, yeah. And the stake in the heart, he could die in the stake in the heart while he slept.
There's always some weak spot.
Gotta be.
Well, there's a Twilight Zone episode, Shai, you probably remember this, with that guy that made the deal with the devil to be invincible. At first he was like, I forgot what the word is, where people are always afraid to get sick. Something. Hypochondriac. Yeah, he was a hypochondriac. He always thought, you know, every little thing he thought he was sickly and stuff, always bitching and moaning. All right, so he makes a deal with the devil to live forever. Now, talking about what you're talking about, his thing was he couldn't be hurt. He like drank poison. He threw himself in front of a damn train, in front of a bus, and he was collecting mad insurance on it because, you know, it's like for getting hit and stuff. Yeah. The insurance companies have to pay him out, so he's making a killing. But he was getting bored by the idea. He's like, he couldn't kill himself. You know what I'm saying? But here was the kicker. He accidentally killed his wife. Well, okay, they were arguing and stuff like that on the rooftop. And then she falls over the roof, you know, while they were arguing. He didn't actually push her, but she falls over. But then his evil ass was kind of content with it. He's like, well, okay, no more bother with her. I ain't got to get with her. But then the cops end up, you know, getting him and shit, just kind of fast forward along and shit. He ends up getting arrested for it. And he gets life in prison.
Oh, shit, that sucks.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's just like he's going to live forever. So, you know, after that generation of police die, when the new generation are born, he still is going to be in prison. So that was kind of the kicker to that whole thing. So, actually, he didn't live that long. There was a clause where he could just die right there. And he shouted the devil and he's like, I'd just rather die. And so the devil killed him right there in the cell. Yep.
There's this movie, it's actually a series of movies, the M. Night Shyamalan kind of like universe. But it's Bruce Willis in Unbreakable, you know. His character cannot physically get sick, hurt, like nobody can stab him, kill him, shoot him in the head, but he drowned.
That's like, it's not funny that he drowned, but it's funny that it's
that's the weakness.
Oh,
you know?
Really? You remember Death Becomes Her with Bruce Willis? And
Goldie Hawn. Yeah.
And they were so silly and jealous of each other, but you remember what happened to them?
Oh, I don't, not right offhand.
Oh, okay. The husband was an undertaker, so he would keep them.
Oh, right, that's right. Because there a scene where like, yeah, because Goldie Hawn like broke her neck really bad.
Yeah, and the other one shot her through the stomach, so she had a big. Yeah, they kept messing with.
That's right. Oh God,
but they had to live forever. Yeah, that was a good one.
But they
and at the
forever.
end, they put so much pain on each other that they just broke and fell to pieces when they fell down, remember?
No, that's right, Shy. Yeah, because they were just so decrepit. See,
Yeah.
their body wasn't resilient, so they were actually succumbing.
No, it was what they were doing to their bodies. They could have been resilient, but they didn't treat themselves right. And
I have to see the movie again.
oh,
I kind of remember
really
it in
good.
fragments.
It's really good.
Yeah. But again, it depends on where one takes the idea and conceptualize it. All right, so let's take it to the all nine, right? You are invulnerable to pain. You can't die by being shot or killed. Anything, even a nuclear explosion couldn't kill you. You know what I'm saying? Hell, it didn't even kill Wolverine.
But what if it doesn't kill you, but you get shot and you have all these
And you have the
scars and then
wounds.
wounds and yeah.
So there's a Mac Miller quote that says, "Everybody want to be like God. Maybe God just want to be like us." And that's my thought with immortality. It's like,
what's that song? What if God was one
read
of
my mind.
us? Something like one of us or some shit. But I mean, we are. If you go by the biblical thing, and we are made in God's image, then we look at God every day, as it were.
so God can die though? Like I never.
Well,
looked,
see, that's where
we got the
God
upper
is
hand.
eternal.
Kind of.
Well, you know what they say, you really can't appreciate life without the aspect of knowing that you can lose it.
Yo, fuck yeah.
If you can't lose it, you don't appreciate it.
My grandma used to tell me some shit like, everybody lives with a purpose. So when a baby's born, if he dies in his mother's arms, his purpose was to give the mother happiness for that 9
For that
months.
little moment.
And that shit blew my fucking mind when I heard it as a kid. But that's like, we kind of discussed that it wasn't in the first part, but just like the idea of someone is immortal. Like someone that's like dead, like Pac. Is he immortal until we forget about him? Einstein, is he immortal?
That's a good point. I mean, immortality also plays into thought in terms of, you can do great things in your life, but will you be remembered for it? Because, I mean, there's a lot of people that did great things that sometimes they get recently discovered. They have just recently discovered, Tesla's one.
Right.
There's visual artists that painted just as great as Rembrandt and all them, and their art is just now being discovered. Musicians that were just as good as all the people that we idolize, their work is just now being discovered. That's why it's good to document. That's why I've always been, we live in the area of documentation, and it's just like, it behooves us, because you can believe if Beethoven and them could have recorded their music, they would have stayed in the studio with their damn symphonies, man. You know what I'm saying? Recording all that work. And they wouldn't have had to always perform it. It's just like, damn, like Beethoven them always had to perform their shit if he wanted to hear it. He had to get a whole symphony together. Mozart had to get a whole opera together to do the Marriage of Figaro. Like, it would be a big production. And after a while, you just like, I can't wait for humans to figure out a way to record this shit. You know what I'm saying? Because god damn, this is work.
Like, I'm sure y'all have had it in like band settings when you're trying to record like a whole band at one time, and it's just like the guitar didn't fucked up on this one, it fucked up on this one, and it's like we can record one at a time now. No, you know what I'm saying? The Beethoven thing.
Now back then, well, way back then they wasn't recording, but say later on when they first started recording, if one motherfucker fucked up, man, everybody had to do it over. So that one musician would get ridiculed like motherfucker, like, because you figure the early stages, you couldn't be playing around with that recording. You kind of have to capture the moment. I've seen when they're literally making the vinyl right there as motherfuckers are recording. Yeah, they'd be literally making the wax vinyl, and some of them old classical recordings, the motherfucker would play it in real time while the motherfucker was being made. So you fucking make a mistake, that bitch is on there. You know what I'm saying? And that happened a lot. But, matter of fact, to kind of take it to another place real quick as far as recordings, because, that's a form of immortality, as it were. Charlie Parker, Bird, in the jazz world. Some people argue one of the greatest, if not the greatest saxophonist ever, blah, blah, blah. He did one of his most famous recordings towards the tail end of his life when he was really like ragged and drugged out and stuff and whatnot, and alcoholic. But he still had his music chops, and I think he was out in LA, and he does this recording, but he had pawned his real saxophone for a plastic piece of shit, and he does the recording, and he played it great, but he didn't like the recording because he knew where his state of mind was. But it was quote unquote immortalized, and all of his sycophant followers, they mimicked every little nuance. He was like, man, I made mistakes on there, and I've heard people play my mistakes thinking it was what I meant. And he was like, he's like, I was not in my place. And I think about that sometimes.
My dad will always say, can you live with it?
Yeah, exactly. And I get that now, because there's certain recordings I listen to now, and I'm like, I had a moment where I didn't have to live with that, and I let myself go, and now I got to keep hearing that little, Oh, I wish I would have. I wish I would have. Oh, you
Eric
hate
Fowler,
that.
man. I'd be sitting right behind Eric. He knows me now.
Yeah, man, because you do not want that
Yeah.
moment because you're just like, it's eternalized. Like everybody, you know, that album Phantom, there were certain things I did on Phantom that I wish I could take back. And motherfuckers bought it now and they forever were here. Those little things. I will never point them out because they'll probably never notice it, but I will.
Yeah,
You know?
It's like rock stars, half finished song. I don't even say a fucking word in it. Like I skirt it out. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? This half-ass song, Immortality, one of my favorite songs. But like,
But you felt like you probably could have did something else.
different. But I'm glad it is how it is because like I feel like today's generation is like I could do 1,000 takes. You know what I'm saying? You lose that like
That thunder.
let's just do it.
Yeah, man.
You know?
When you're invigorated, I have a friend named Mike Stakelum, and we used to call him One Take Steak. He was a drummer and stuff.
And then you have people like the Isley Brothers that went on to be forever. You remember how they worked on one song, one part in that song for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So it's like there are people that
Are really meticulous.
yeah.
But then you have
but look at them. It's the Isley Brothers.
right.
It's like
And
this is why they are the way they are. You
They
know,
were
because
very meticulous.
Yeah.
And they took time out to really develop and craft something. And it depends on how you approach something that you're considering that's going to be immortalized. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like when you put out a documented thing of your work, that's immortalizing it. And you have to be content with it and the approach to it. Because like, you know, you'll have like, say, a free jazz artist that may go into the studio and they're just like, you know, Miles did this in the middle part of his recording years where he would bring all these guys together and he would just kind of have a schematic. And he's like, you know, y'all go balls out. I don't give a fuck what's going to happen here. You know what I'm saying? But that's the same guy that in other works, the meticulousness that Sean was just describing, he would be like that. Like, motherfucker, we going to go over this one measure, you know, 1,000,000 times until your ass get it right. You know?
He wants you to explore.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Motherfucker, if you fuck up, you do too much exploring, will cost your ass and shit, you know, because it's being documented. And, you know, you want your documentation to represent you.
That is one of the things I will say that makes it human is the little imperfections and improvisations in certain things. Like some of the best lines in TV show are improvised, you know, like some of the best lines in your movie, like, not necessarily.
No, it actually, no, but no, I
I
know.
Were improvised.
I mean, a lot of the moments that everybody had, I would give you guys lines and let you guys just kind of feel it because, you know, it's just like, well, y'all are going to eternalize y'all's characters more so than just the lines. Because like Shy, like Tracker, right? You know, the way you did that, like, you know, with that sass, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, capturing it like that because as opposed to just saying Tracker, you know, it's just like, no, put a little something to it, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, there's a way of, as you say, you know, adding the nuance of human fallibility because we're not infallible. Yeah. And I think, like, for example, when you get into those kind of more free-form kind of ways of documenting yourself, you're showcasing that. You know, like in the case of like when Miles was in that kind of fusion mind state, it's just like, hey, y'all, do your thing. Don't worry so much about quote unquote mistakes. There's no such thing as a mistake unless you acknowledge it as such.
Yeah, that's real as fuck. That's a brilliant statement. That's like.
Well, I actually just said that. He didn't say that, but
I knew you just said it. I was like, that's fucking genius.
But that's where he was coming from.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm saying that in regards to where he was coming from.
True.
And I mean, and that makes sense. But then again, as we all can attest to, you know, there are things like this film, for example, even with those moments that were free. I mean, y'all know how meticulous I was. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I do want this shit crafted a certain way. I saw certain scenes from a distance, like, you know, months in advance that I wanted to, you know, stay true to. You know, I did augment the ending, you know, but I love the way it is now. But, you know, there was another way that I approached it. Shy, you remember the baby? You know what I'm saying? We were going to have you as a baby staring and then, anyway, I may use that. I better shut up for another movie. Anyway, you know, but I was thinking about like, well, when this is all done and when I'm looking at this movie, I wanted to represent the ideas that I really wanted to get across, regardless of what happens in between intermittently. Does it represent the idea? Because see, as a music artist, for example, when you hire musicians, you tell them to play a part, but they're gonna do their little thing. And I went into this with that, I don't know.
If that's what you're looking for.
If that's what you're
like,
looking
you know,
for.
I told Lucy to just explore. But then, there are some people that want things a specific way. And there are some songs where I really wanted her to play a specific way.
And know your lane.
Yeah.
Because, I ain't going to mention this particular drummer, but you remember this one drummer, we would be so scared when he would go into a roll because he wouldn't quite finish the roll right. And, it's just like, he was one of the drummers where the roll would be like, it's like, don't roll, because he can hold a steady beat. But, he feeling good. So he wanted to go into a roll, and that we would just all be scared, like, oh, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? And so he would make it sometimes. Oh, God, he made it. All right, we're going to keep it moving. But then there was some nights where he didn't make it. It's like, oh, man, just keep it straight. Because the idea of saying that is, if you're going to experiment, really know where you're at before you take off,
Something you got, like, if you're going to experiment, you got to know where you're going, too.
Right.
Like,
okay, for example, Mac, if I told you to draw me, right, and I was like, Mac, draw me, and I said a certain type of way of drawing me, or if I said, Mac, draw me as you see me. Now, if I say it like that, it is left up into interpretation.
Yeah.
And if you come back and it's some abstract looking shit, I can't be pissed because I said, Mac, how do you see me? But if I'm like, Mac, I want you to draw me realistically. Draw me as I am. Every little blah, blah, bees. And I want you to draw me like that. But if I say, leave it up into interpretation, I'm allowing you that freedom.
Yeah.
And I think, in internalizing art, I think the reason why we are meticulous about that, because come on, right? At the end of the day, that is truly what people are going to talk about you.
Yeah.
None of us here, and anybody alive for that matter, currently knew Mozart, Beethoven, and these kinds of people, but their legends about their life is all embedded in their art. Like their art was so transcending that you want to understand the artist. Why was Beethoven like such and such? Why was Mozart like such and such, and so on and so forth? You want to understand them as people.
And why was it that they transcended into immortality?
Yeah, how did they transcend into immortality? What was it about them? And it wasn't just their art, it was the way they lived. Like, it wasn't just because E equals MC squared, the only reason why we know Einstein. Einstein did a lot of shit, and he said cool things. He even integrated a lot of things. He was one of the early white professors with his knowledge that actually went around and taught black students. Other white people with his kind of knowledge about science and this and that and the other, because that, in the modern world, it's pretty much like Germans and people like that had that kind of knowledge. And he was the guy. And he was going around speaking to black kids about it. And there's black people that, got taught by Einstein.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? That are old people now that was like, yeah, Einstein was my instructor, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And he was one of the first to kind of do that. So he immortalized himself as a consummate human being. It goes beyond. Muhammad Ali is considered the greatest boxer of all time, but he's also considered one of the greatest athletes of all time because how he lived.
And also, I think it goes into the encapsulating of now, we can do a podcast right now. This is what we're doing right now, and we can show our sides other than our art, right? And just for an example, for me, and I'm sure y'all, famous people, you if they had a book, you'd probably read it. You want to know more. It's like what you're saying about Mozart. If Mozart could have done a podcast and said, oh, in the Moonlight Sinatra, this is what I was doing, and you could hear him talk about it, right?
Which, by the way, that was Beethoven, just for the.
My bad. But just the theory.
But I know where you're coming from, baby. I know you're coming from.
And I'll bring up Gary Vee again. He said, imagine if, right, in 50 years, our great grandchildren can look up a hologram of Scooby the Kid or Bill Perry or Shy and Chef Mac.
Actually, they will be able to, because we could do it now. What was that Coachella thing with Tupac?
Right?
You know what I'm saying? And there's other concerts. I saw this one concert that was done in Japan or something where it's this pianist. And I'm actually going to bite this from you, whoever you are, because I saw that and I thought it was brilliant. She had two different pianos. She had a hologram version of herself come out on one end and was, quote unquote, playing the piano. And it was piano sounds coming out. And then her real version came out. But as far as the people, they didn't know which one was real because they were both highlighted and stuff. And then I think the one, whatever side of the stage with the hologram, that one disappeared. And so everybody knew the one on the other side was real. And she stands up and bows. I was like, oh, that is brilliant. I am still in that damn idea. But, that's a way of immortalizing us. But our stories, again, the people that we talk and discuss about what they did and things like that, a lot of things we talked about here recently, world conquerors, we talked about Genghis Khan and all these kind of people, we talked about artists and musicians. And what makes them alluring is not only their art, but the way they lived. Even if it was tragic, you know, like you even said, like Tupac. Yeah. You said that you got into Tupac through the conspiracy theories before you got into his music. Yeah, so it was his life, his story that was alluring. And then you got into, you know, what thereafter or whatever his art was about.
I would be lying if I said that I was more influenced by Tupac's music than like his interviews. His life was what was inspiring to me. His music was just a soundtrack that if I wanted to feel that in a way when I'm in the car, I can feel that. But like, I don't like to say I learned a bunch from the songs, but his interviews.
No, I get that. I can't really pinpoint anybody myself, but I know that I've been more influenced sometimes by a person's mystique than whatever they're doing or their art. You know, I may like an actor more for their air than any movie they made. You know, but I just like that person's energy. Even if they're in movies that suck, I like that actor's energy. You know what I'm saying?
I do that all the time. Like, I'll watch a TV show and see that actor, and I'm like, he's really good. Like, I just like, you see him, he's like, wow, that you.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
I'll go and look at other stuff. You know. Like, oh, he's in this. Let me watch this. Oh, that was a terrible movie, but I'll still watch it again because he's in it.
Because he's in it, you know, and it gives it a little something extra because you're following that individual, and that again that intensifies. And in my case, and in my mind rather, it guarantees a place for you in the halls of immortality.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? When you do something that people remember, what is it? You know, people. I can't remember who said this, but it's like people remember more how you made them feel than what you've done.
100%, bro.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, you could have been a world leader and this and that and the other. You know, Adolf Hitler was a world leader, but what the fuck do we remember him for? You know what I'm saying?
It's like when Mac Miller died, it was like, he's a tremendous musical artist, but the majority of people like giving sentiments about him was like, man, he was such a good person. You know, and it's like a lot of like famous people that I looked up to that died. That's what they say about him, you know? So it's like, you in a sense, you know, we're learning how to be immortal in our own ways. When we're like, you know, when we have families, like our great grandfather or grandfather's immortal, he's dead, but we still talk about him. So like, it's only as long as we keep it alive.
We keep it alive and talk about it.
One of my favorite quotes is from the musical Hamilton, and it's, God help and forgive me, I'm gonna build something that's gonna outlive me.
Hey, I like that. I like that, indeed. I mean, you know, and it's like, you know, it's not so much as it is a mission as it is an inevitability. You know, like this podcast, we're creating something right now that for all we know, man, somebody may be watching 50 years from now.
100%.
And if you are watching this 50 years from now, welcome. You know what I'm saying? Speaking from the past, you know what I'm saying? We're still in the middle of this pandemic, you know what I'm saying? When I say 50 years from now, so that'd be 2070 or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Hi, 2070.
I wonder if they're getting lit like the 1970s.
If it's 2070, that means I am 98. Damn. Woo. And if you're watching this old me, look how you used to look. You remember this? Remember how virile you was? I know your ass barely getting around now. I may surprise myself. I'm probably just as gumptious then. You know what I'm saying?
You done found a youth. You
know what I'm saying? I took that trip to Florida. We went to Florida and shit. Found that, you know, the Ponce de Leon shit. But yeah, man. Oh damn! I had a point a minute ago. We was talking about all that stuff about art. About like, you know, what you are remembered for, right? You know, and you know, I was going to say something about jazz musicians, for example. One of the things I think was really sad about, you know, a lot of the early jazz stars is they did, you know, get hooked on heroin, a lot of them and stuff, but a lot of them weaned out of it and stuff. People like Coltrane and Miles and like, but a lot of them are only, you know, remembered for that. Yeah. You know, one of the jokes is always talking about, you know, jazz musicians, the reason why they were the way they were and played so fast and all this because they were all geeked up and shit. You know what I'm saying? Bit, you know, maybe, but it's just like, you know, heroin didn't make Charlie Parker. No. You know, he did it, and so people thought in being Charlie Parker, you had to do heroin. You know what I'm saying? And so it coexists with his life. Like Jimi Hendrix will forever be connected to the trippy hippie shit of the 60s. Even though right now he'd probably be a conservative, straight old man that, you know, shuns drugs. Yeah, look at how Cheech is, exactly. Just straight up, like wearing suits and shit, just chilling. Well, Cheech, well, I would say he's wearing suits.
Tommy Chong, Cheech.
But hey, Cheech and John. That would be like if you woke up one day, you know, Meth and Redman, and you woke up in Redman wearing suits one day. It wouldn't matter which one. So it was kind of like that. And Shy, you make a good point with that because that's what I'm saying. Like, Jimmy would be in like his 80s right now.
He'd be different.
Man wouldn't be thinking about tripping and shit. You know what I'm saying? He was in his 20s when he died, so that's what the youth were doing. You know?
Look at like Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, yeah, Ozzy's still tripping.
Bro, that man.
That's such a good point.
Y'all ever seen The Dirt?
So
it's this scene in The Dirt, not to spoil it, but it's a really good show on Netflix where like they're at this pool at this high flying place in The Dirt. It's Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
What band
the
is he?
actor?
Yeah, no, Tommy Lee. He's the drummer. He's in.
Tommy Lee, as in Motley Crue.
Motley Crue.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name.
Pamela Anderson fame.
So there's some ants like crawling by the pool. This motherfucker Ozzy, he's in a hospital robe, pisses on the ants and then snorts the piss in the ants.
I've heard about that story.
That shit's crazy, bro. Like
I've read some stuff about rock guys that, them guys are gonna be infamous just from the shit that they did. I'm not gonna discuss it on the show. Oh no, I don't know if you guys ever heard it. I forget which two rock stars it was, but Cadillac Funk, my old homeboy Andrew Yurko told me about this. He read it in one of those rock stories. But the shit that those guys did on the road, the type of contests that they had about doing the most drugs and getting the most women and all that. I'm talking, like, you hear about regular people doing shit like that, but imagine you're a millionaire and you're a celebrity doing that.
You pulling it off, too.
And you're pulling it off. There's even a story, I remember this in passing. If I'm wrong about this, forgive me, even to you, TLC, because this is actually about TLC, the old hip-hop R&B group and shit from back in the 90s. And there was a story that came out where TLC used to get guys that would all trying to flirt with him and stuff like that. So they would bring them up to the room and be like, "Oh yeah, you gonna get all of us tonight," and have the guys strip down and then kick them out the room butt naked. Fuck yeah, and they'd be all in the hallway knocking all butt naked and shit. They'd be in there laughing. I'm like, damn, that's hard as shit. You know what I'm saying?
Going to the hyper fantasization of people doing things that are cool in their personality, like jazz guys with drugs. They probably had some demons that they weren't able to talk about, and I think that's something to study if you're going to study the immortalization of somebody.
Well, let's say it like this. It's eras, man. It would be the equivalent of when you grow up, right? You see what's going on in your generation, and people start using Juice WRLD and Pop, Smoke as an example of what defined your generation. There's a lot more going on with your generation.
Way more.
So that's kind of what I mean about the jazz guys. It's like they made it seem like all the guys are doing it, everybody was doing it kind of thing. It wasn't like that.
Gotcha.
Where you guys, he's of the age where people are doing that, but it's not everybody in his age range or your age range for that matter. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't define an era, and we have to be, again, you have to be careful with what you align yourself with. Because, again, Jimi Hendrix will forever be tied to all that stuff that was going on in the 60s, because that's the era. Well, he actually died right at 1970, but he will always be tied to that. Tupac will always be tied to the 90s.
For sure.
We don't know what kind of man Tupac would be right now, what he would be speaking upon, and this and that and the other.
He might be like Ice-T.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
completely turned around,
completely acting like Will Smith or something. Like, man, the hell with rap, just completely acting.
I think he had a song about killing cops, and now he plays a cop.
Yeah, Ice-T, you know what I'm saying? Cop killer. And every time you see him playing a role, he a cop. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he played a cop in New Jack City.
Shit. Tupac played a cop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't matter when you're pretending. You know what I mean? It's just. But man, what I'm getting at is again how you align yourself in history, because we don't have any control of our legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like the way people will discuss you, no matter what you do, you hope that they speak upon certain things. Like Michael Jackson sold more records than everybody, but what did they talk about? Did he touch them kids?
Yep, that's all.
You know what I'm saying? Not his records and the content of his music and the depth and blah blah blah, his stage show and the greatest showmanship. No, did he touch little Johnny over there? You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of fucked up.
And that's what he's connected with because of what was going on in the latter part of his life.
Another quote from Hamilton is, he says, "What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden that you don't get to see."
Right.
That's.
Talking about, speaking of which, you know, this is the connect two things. You said your favorite singer is Sam Cooke, right?
Nah.
I thought you told me that, a change gonna come. We did that show.
Oh, Sam Cooke. I was thinking of the white dude.
Sam Smith.
Yeah, fuck no. But Sam Cooke, yes.
Sam Cooke.
I want to sing like Sam Cooke. Hell yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and I say this carefully because, I don't want it to change. I'm sure it won't change that with you. But here's an example of what I mean. Okay, everyone, for the most part, reveres Sam Cooke. But the tragedy, right? If you know his whole story, then he got killed.
Right after meeting with Muhammad
You know what
Ali.
I'm saying? And he got killed by this woman that ran this hotel because she thought some nefarious shit was going on. The guy was killed butt naked and this and that and the other and stuff. I think it was some drugs involved, blah, 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 blah. But people talk about more about that, that get to that part in the story. Donny Hathaway was one of the greatest arrangers in history, but people talk about the fact that he was struggling with being homosexual and he committed suicide, jumped out a window.
Man, come on, bro. It's like this
And
man.
but think about that. It's like that's what people want to talk about. John Lennon was in the fucking Beatles, but they talk about him getting shot.
Yeah, that's true.
Now in the case of him, now there is more that they discuss, but the cat that killed him and the way that he died, that will always be a part.
Infamous.
It's connected. John Wilkes Booth will always be connected to Abraham Lincoln, no matter what the fuck he did in his life. He fucking shot Lincoln, and that's what the fuck your ass is gonna be remembered for. For the rest of your life. Like right now, here I am. Y'all been knowing me and this and that and the other, right? Now, what if I take off here, right? And I just get really, really fucked up tonight. I say, fuck it. I do heroin, I slam up, and then I OD. And they find my ass in a bathtub, butt naked. And they take a picture of me with a motherfucking needle in my arm. This is your brother, John. This is how they catch me. It's like, well, we just did the podcast the night before. Yeah. Guess what? That image is what's going to be burned in everyone's mind. All that shit that I've done up to this point in my life, my movie and all that kind of, y'all going to have to defend me every day. Bill went crazy. But man, they found that fool in the bathroom with the needle. You know what I'm saying? And why did he have that stuffed doll and shit? What was that all about? I mean, what the hell was going on? You know what I'm saying? That's what motherfuckers going to discuss. They ain't going to talk about, oh man, he made a great movie, all those albums. Bill could play piano. No, man, why that motherfucker died with that fucking Kermit doll in his arm with the hypodermic needle? That's what they going to discuss.
It's like JFK with the Marilyn Monroe situation, even though that's like kind of interesting, and I'm glad that I know about that. But that doesn't negate what he did. I think this is an interesting thing that we as a society really need to come to understanding is that we can get better. We can fuck up and we can get better.
We can get better. And we shouldn't judge on our transgressions so harshly because we all make them.
Facts.
But if you die with those transgressions being unresolved,
you never can prove it.
You could never prove that growth.
I saw XXX Tentacion. I don't know if y'all know who
oh, yeah,
is.
I'm there. All
right, so he went to jail. And this dude tried to fuck him in jail, so he beat his ass. So they it's fucking jail.
That's cold, man.
Right. All right. So and then he gets out, and what he did to his girlfriend was wrong, and he knows that.
Oh, he's the one that beat it.
And he knows that he's trying to. He's a 19-year-old kid. And it's just interesting the fact that it's like
people hone in on that instead of him trying to grow from that. Is what you're saying.
And it's like, bro, I understand that. Yes, you was wrong, and you should do whatever.
Well, see, that's where it becomes slippery because it depends on what the transgression is. For example, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby did fantastically great things for definitely the black community, but for all people and stuff in the business. What is he going to be remembered for, ladies and gentlemen? Or lady and gentlemen? What is he going to be remembered for? I hate to say it. And I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm saying this carefully. I still got love for Cosby because of the stuff he did. I'm not talking about the shit that, whatever the story is and all that kind of stuff. But Cosby reared me, man. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people and shit, you know what I'm saying? But again, just like with the Michael Jackson thing, what the fuck are we going to discuss because of what's connected to him here thereafter?
And Kevin Spacey, too.
Kevin Spacey, another one. Loved his movies. R. Kelly.
That's a
man. And he just went down in such a public fashion in terms of doing those interviews. And you heard about the recent thing, right? He got his ass kicked and shit in prison and shit.
Oh, so did R. Kelly.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You the one that told me, Shy. You told me about that shit.
Kevin Spacey for some reason.
Oh, no, Kevin he didn't get locked down. He worked out something with his guy or men or whatever.
No, they dropped the charges.
Yeah, they dropped the charges, but he just hey man, yeah, and shut up, please. You know what I'm saying?
This is an interesting dude. My girl is just she loves to watch these documentaries because she wants to get educated, right? She watched the R. Kelly shit, and I was like, man, I'm not watching that shit, bro. Fucking Ignition, you know what I'm saying? I like the song still. I can't but when I watched it, I was like, damn, that's kind of fucked up if this is true, right? And there's another one I haven't watched yet, but it's like his family coming back, and it's his brother. He said. He's riding with his brother and he sees his face up on the billboard and he's like, that guy up there's crazy. He's like, what you mean that's you? He's like, nah, that R. Kelly dude, he's crazy. You know, and this is R. Kelly telling his brother that, you know?
And like, he knows that he became something else. Well, you know, like the very first song that influenced me in hip hop was Planet Rock. I've told you this before, you know, by Africa Bambaataa.
And he was supposed to be the one.
And yeah, you know, Africa Bambaataa, and guess what? There's stories that leaked out with him touching dudes. But back when they were young, have you heard about this, Sean? Yeah, African Bambaataa. I'm talking like heavy stories out there where these guys, you know, 2, maybe 3 guys have come out that are like in their 20s or 30s now. That was like when they were young, African Bambaataa touched on them. And then the funny thing was KRS-One came out to defend him. And then here's the kicker, apparently he did some shit like that. Now KRS-One literally, I can say he literally taught me something in Black history. The first time I learned that a black man invented the traffic light was because of KRS-One in a song.
He touched kids.
That's what they say. I think they're saying that because he's really defending African Bambaataa. So I think they're just trying to fight, because there hasn't been any guys that come out saying KRS-One touched me, but there have been guys that come out. You can look it up online right now, and there's interviews of dudes like, yeah, man, he blah, 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 blah. Now, you never know where to take that kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, to me, like, I've lived a good amount of years now where, you know, to where it's just like, you know, my private life or whatever I've done is out there to people as far as like, there's nothing out there to where it's like, you know, I never had any homosexual encounters.
Shit like that.
If a guy comes out there, there's too many people that have known me, you know, as it were. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you can't stop that kind of train, but it's just like, I'm solid in my life to know that there are transgressions out there that I'm ashamed of. And unless those things surface up, which are really more drug related, like I don't have any sexual deviancies out there that will come back and haunt me and be like, oh man, that one night that I pissed in that bed, you know what I'm saying? What if that shit come back and haunt me and shit, you know what I'm saying? You know, I don't have shit like that out there, you know what I'm saying? But,
One of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. You know, she's talking about it, like, you know, like, they're miseducating you on me because, like, I did drugs, now I'm not credible. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And there's a slippery slope on where one comes from and where they go. You know, the biggest transformation that we know of in terms of, you know, an identity shift and what you can be remembered for, as it were, to kind of bring it back to the immortality thing, Malcolm X. Malcolm X started off his life very tumultuously. You know, he's a pimp, a thief, and all these kinds of things. He transforms his life, and now he is forever connected for the civil activities that he did, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to his pimping and his thieving and even his prison time, you know what I'm saying, his subsequent prison time he did a good amount of time for. All that was washed away when he came back out and regrouped himself. And even when he regrouped himself, he still had another transformation, because it was like, well, I mean, you know, what brought him back to life was the Nation of Islam, but then it was like, but Elijah, what's going on with Elijah kind of thing, and he had to do a whole little another regrouping. He literally took himself to Mecca, and you know, like literally went to Mecca, and there's like white people and all color of people all sharing life together. It's like, wait a minute, and he came back and was like, hey y'all, what I was talking about just the black, no, we all need to. He started speaking like Martin Luther King, and then.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Why, like, him and Martin, like, those are my favorite kind of people. It's because, like, when they were wrong, they stood up and fucking admitted they were wrong. It's like, yo, like, if we got, like, let's talk about, you know what I'm saying? It's like that type of shit. But see,
what do we got today? What's the term? Cancel culture.
It is.
If you fuck up and do one thing, like right now on this show, if I happen to say something that was considered anti-Semitic or this and that, like there's some little thing where they could twist my language and be like, what did he mean by that? And it became some sort of viral thing. Like, it could really fuck up my reputation.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
We live in, it's like he says, like, you're innocent until proven guilty. That's fucking bullshit.
No, man. Today, you could be hashtagged and at it. Matter of fact, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was trying to make a point about somebody that, like, said something about him. And he added the person, but this person has the same name as another person. Like, say the name is John Mitchell. But the person that he was trying to get at went under, like, maybe Jay Mitchell, like at Jay Mitchell. Yeah. So when he added John Mitchell, it was a whole nother guy, and Trump went off on this guy. And so everybody that was Trump sycophants was sending all this hate shit to this guy. And he's like, whoa, I'm not even a political guy. And eventually they realized it was, but still. See, in that little instance of just accidentally atting a motherfucker that you don't even know nothing about, but you trying to do your little tweet shit, you know what I'm saying? And then fuck up a guy's life for whatever amount of time it was fucked up in that little moment before they realized they had the wrong dude. But it's just like, that's all it takes. You know, a motherfucker could be like, you know, fuck Bridging the Gap and make that a popular hashtag. And then we wake up, why is fuck Bridging the Gap so popular and shit? Every time I go to type our name, it's fuck Bridging the Gap. And then we find out somebody's like been making this popular out there.
You can be immortalized for all the wrong things too.
That's what I'm getting at. It's just like, you know, like, fuck us. Like, who started this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, with, you know, getting back on Trump again, starting that birther shit. He literally had the public doubting if Obama was American. You know, hey, a Kenyan. That man wasn't born here. Man, look, I was born in Hawaii, y'all.
Yeah.
No. We want to see the birth certificate. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, it had a movement. A movement. The birther movement. This man literally had to, look, y'all, he actually didn't have to do that, but he did it to shut him up because it was being discussed so powerfully that he had to just say, look, motherfuckers, I was born here,
They
all
didn't
right?
realize Hawaii was a state again.
You know, just whatever they can do to a black man who had a Muslim father. That's
I'm
all
being
that is.
nasty.
You know, just being nasty, you know what I'm saying? I mean, hell, Trump did that about Biden recently, said Biden wasn't from Scranton. It's like, come on, man.
He's just playing on his hits.
You know, just playing all this fucking hits again. But anyway, I'm taking it to a political place. Not bad.
It goes into attention. This is like when we end it here, and we'll go into the social media episode on the next one.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
In like Uganda and in different places in Africa, like when you get a phone, Facebook is downloaded on there, and it's the only free thing that you're able to use, right? And there is wars being started in other countries over misinformation on Facebook. And so, like, attention is important. What we pay attention to is important. Who we make immortal and for what reasons is important. And
Always do your research.
Yeah, because thoughts are immortal, for better or for worse. And what you put out here in the ether now, as they say, you know, it's on the internet, it's forever, as it were, right? And you have to be careful with what you put out there. And that's why we fashioned our show the way we have. You know, we don't show any kind of partisanship between any political parties, no particular religious ideologies, or any of these kinds of things that will make people feel pigeonholed when they watch us. Like, you know,
Except for
they're
flat
only coming
earthers.
from like if they're coming from a certain slant, you know, and things like this, because, you know, there are shows that are, you know, left-leaning, right-leaning.
Yeah.
You watch our show, we're not leaning either way. I think that if you pay attention to us, you can kind of see where we're leaning, but we don't say it because we're not trying to make anyone uncomfortable. It's just like when I made my movie, I made sure to not have any...
And it should be okay. You know, whatever happened to debate, whatever happened to, you know, I mean, it's like, why shouldn't we be able to say, right? Like, we should be able to say
whatever we feel.
If you can't prove your point better than me, so be it, kind of thing, and agree to disagree, kind of thing, as opposed to, no, I hate you. Yeah. You can't see the way I see things.
You're leaning this way. How dare you?
How dare you? You're not even American. Oh my God.
One of my friends, and I'm not gonna say his name, posted something the other day, and he's dude. He lives in North Carolina, and he always would hate on people who didn't have the same opinion as him. But he posted something the other day and said, I just hate people who hate on other people for having a different opinion. And I'm just like, I remember getting into arguments with you on the school bus about you think differently than me, you're stupid, you know?
And therein lies the irony, because people that do think that way do not think they think that way. Yeah. Therein lies the irony. They're thinking that, no, I am the one that's woke here and I'm educating you. I'm trying to wake you up to the reality of blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but everyone out there feels like that. And unless you either have reputable sources or you yourself have done the research, it's just fodder out there. Yeah. You know, I mean, a lot of people, and including myself, I admit that, I'm a part of the modern times and I do it myself here and there, where I'll see a slick meme and, and yeah, we share it around as fact, as it were. But see, now I will say this, I don't know if it's a Facebook thing or not, or, y'all seen this fact checkers thing?
Yes.
And if you put something out there and it's really fake, it'll get fact checked now, and I don't know if they'll take it off, but they'll at least let you know it was fact checked. I actually posted something not too long ago about stats that I thought were right, and it got fact checked, and I deleted it. I'm like, well, shit, if it's wrong, I ain't gonna keep it up there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it got fact checked. You know what I'm saying? It was some stats about blah, blah, blah. I think it was stats about how much money we get in unemployment compared to other countries. and 2 of the countries were wrong. The fact checker actually told me which countries were wrong. They were like, well, this, that, and this, that, and that was right, but you got these 2 wrong, and you got fact checked.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. And I deleted it, because I'm like, well, hey, thank you for correcting me, because I ain't trying to facilitate any disinformation.
You know, we can end it.
I guess we get ready to end it now. Right?
That's a good going into the social media, episode.
Indeed.
So look out for that.
And I know we kind of veered off immortality, but I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so much you can really say about that.
I got one question, and it's fairly simple, but do you want to live forever?
If I can't live without him, then maybe not. If I can't live without those people at home, I call mom and dad.
I want to live forever through my art. I don't want to physically. Well, I obviously cannot. If I had the option to, no. I would rather pass and let my art.
That's the way life is supposed to be.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I think that I would rather just go ahead and let my art speak for me, because I wouldn't want to keep conforming to all the different types of ways that society would be in the future. It would be ongoing, and it would get tiring. And I just wouldn't want to keep doing it. So yeah, I just leave and be like, hey, y'all enjoy my records.
Yeah.
Enjoy my movies.
I feel the same way. But I just like to maybe put a cap on it. Just also when I'm no longer needed, when there's somebody else that's alive that's saying the same shit, and like you don't need me no more, like
feel like your journey's.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here longer than I'm supposed to be.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying to you.
Well, damn. I would, but I
Why did I not see that coming? Oh my gosh.
But I want to have a time machine.
Well, okay. Well, I know we're about to end because I was about to take you somewhere else. But, that's another form of immortality.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily, experience like getting old, but you can like circumvent time.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That'd be cool. Well, y'all, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Bridging the Gap with Bill, Shy, Scooby, and Matt talking about immortality. And tune in. We got a whole bunch of shows coming up here and stuff for the future. We got some holiday shows and we got other topics. As one has been revealed, we're going to talk about it. Social media is corrupting us. So yeah, stay tuned.
And, if it is or if it is not, be responsible, but tune in and tap into us on our social medias at Scooby the Kid 252.
Why we point fingers at social media? Tap into us in social media.
At Chef Mac 1523, at OSoShy11, at Bill_Perry, and at Bridge the Gap 77. Hopefully, we can bring content that adds value, and it's all add value out here.
That's what's up. So we're done.
Yep.
All right. Peace out, y'all. To the next one.
Oh, yeah.
What is up, Bridging the Gap people? It's me, Chef Mac. I'm over here playing some video games, looking at myself, editing the video, listening to some music. But I just want to say, if you made it this far, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ding dong that notification bell so that you can get notified every time we get go upload a video onto this YouTube channel. Yeah, and I'm about to throw this into it, finish editing, and get back to playing Days Gone. Peace out.